This is DJ.
This is Ish.
And this is
Pero Let Me Tell You.
Dale. Se mató. She fell off the stage.
La pobre. That's probably because she didn't have the last soda that we gave her.
That's true. She needed that extra bounce.
The caffeine.
The caffeine.
caffeine
Are we recording this?
We are recording.
Well, if that's the case, then ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 38 of Pero Let Me Tell You.
Bienvenido, caballero, al 38.
Pero Friday.
Pero Friday. Hashtag Pero Friday.
How's everybody doing on this wonderful Friday?
Yes, and we hope that we do hope to see you guys at the Save Halloween party tonight.
Whether you go or not, trick or treat.
Trick or treat Halloween, yes.
Trick or treat. Oh, I guess this could be like our Halloween special. Boo.
Yeah, we're not doing the cackle thing that we did with Yamil.
With
Again,
Yamil.
no, we're not bringing that back. We blew out enough speakers. There's a lot of Acuras out there that are in repair shops.
That's true. That's true. It's so funny because I remember, I'm going to bring up Michigan again. When I was in Michigan, I was with a classmate of mine talking one time about like Halloween when we were kids and stuff like that. And I remember he was saying something along the lines of like, yeah, you know, when I dress up for Halloween, when I was a kid and I would dress up for Halloween, so many times like I would get stuck in the snow. And I'm like, stuck in the snow? Where are you from? He's like, Buffalo. And I'm like, but even in Michigan at this time, it's not snowing, but it's like really cold.
But it's not. You're not gonna get stuck in the snow.
But then, you know, my Florida head was thinking like, see, I would always wear these like polyester costumes that came in a box when I was a kid.
Dude, the plastic mask.
And I thought I was gonna die of like a heat stroke.
Yeah, but we didn't care back then. We were kids. As long as we were getting candy, we were good.
No, actually, you know what? Now that we're talking about,
remember the time you stole a ceramic pumpkin?
And I still have it. It's in the corner. It's right next to the door of my house now. Anyway, we're not going to talk about theft. So every year, I feel that for Halloween, since it's our Halloween extravaganza, every spooktacular. I like that. Every year, it seems that there's like a list of costumes that are blacklisted for being offensive. This year, being a cowboy is offensive.
What if you're in the Village People?
Being a cowboy is offensive. Being like a pregnant nun or a pregnant like bride is also deemed offensive. And in fact, there was I forgot the name of a university, but there was a university.
A nun is pregnant with the Holy Spirit.
There was a university in England. I forgot the name of the university because the Brits love Halloween as well.
They do. It's been a big thing there recently.
Yeah. That they gave this whole list of outfits that were deemed offensive. What I really thought was interesting that England put cowboys as all those offensive, British buckaroos, as well as like Native American, like to dress as a Native American and all that. Apparently, this one I think is offensive. Do you know that there's a children's costume of Anne Frank?
But is it just like a brown dress?
It's like a little beret, like blouse and skirt with I'm not sure if it's like a purse or whatever,
like a satchel,
a satchel, and she's holding a diary.
I find that offensive, but I also feel like I wouldn't know what that is.
Okay, so I guess the topic of a conversation in terms of this topic, is. It's Halloween. Mm-hmm. Halloween, we go out and we pretend to be people or things that we're not.
Right. Except for me, because I'm sexy year-round.
Of course. So what's offensive and what's not?
Well, let's start off talking about Megyn Kelly. Mm-hmm. Megyn Kelly today on the Today Show. Did you
I watched it today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to...
Has she been getting crap over the Today Show?
She got some crap. I only saw her getting crap from Patton Oswalt and Padma Lashke, but...
Well, what about? Because I saw it this morning.
Essentially, today they were talking about Halloween and costumes.
Yes.
And she said something to the effect of like, when it started off in the path of like, when kids, dress up as a character, they want to look like the character.
Right. Was this about blackface?
And it was about blackface.
Yes.
It went into black and whiteface. Like she said, now I know it's considered offensive, but growing up, this is what you did and blah, 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 blah. Now, I will say, I don't... Considering that we live in a city that literally had 2 plays like 2 months ago, with white actors in blackface.
Mm-hmm.
Cubans were not the most PC. And I know there are many, I'm sure you can look through many of your family's pictures where somebody at some point in the 70s went to a Halloween party dressed as black people.
Right.
So was it done? Yes. Is it offensive? Yes. Now, I don't know how old Megyn Kelly is. Where I think the conversation may have been coming from, and again, I didn't see the episode, there are some parents that are having the conversation as to whether a white child, it should be okay, quote unquote, to dress as Black Panther.
Yeah, but Black Panther is a costume.
Correct. But their thing is that it's... How do I put this? And I could be
right.
I could be mangling it,
okay.
But it's one of those things where it's like, oh, a white kid. Let us have our heroes.
No, I don't think it's about that.
Well, because there's no black face to be had with a Black Panther costume.
I don't see it as the same thing.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But I'm saying I know that's been something that's circulated.
So I actually saw the episode this morning, and one of the people that she talked about was Diana Ross.
Oh, with that chick from the Housewives of...
was about Diana Ross.
Yeah.
And, I think that she may have put on blackface when
she
Diana
basically
Ross.
put like a dark tan.
But I think that a white woman could wear like a very glamorous dress with like a big hair
and walk around with a giant fan
and have that attitude, and people will still know it's Diana Ross.
Right.
Blackface is one of those things.
During the hurricane.
Blackface is one of those things that kind of, it bothers me.
Well, as it
I
should.
think sometimes people overreact. I have like very mixed feelings about it because I think that a lot of people do blackface very innocently. I remember a few years ago,
the chick from Dancing with the Stars.
Yes, Julia
Hoff. Julianne Hoff.
I forgot her name.
Julianne Hough.
Julianne Hough. Yes, she went as a character of
Crazy Eyes from Orange Is the New Black.
And she put on blackface, and then she apologized. I think a lot of people do it very innocently, but with that said, ignorance is not a defense, and right. I feel that as any American, no matter where you come from, you need to understand the historical context of blackface right. and how offensive it is and what it really means.
Absolutely.
Because it's something that is so insulting and it's so derogatory that I think that anybody who understands that would not do blackface.
Right. Like and that episode of Gimme a Break.
Which episode of?
There was an episode of Gimme a Break where Joey Lawrence was going to do a duet with Nell Carter.
Okay.
And they were going to do a duet, or they were lip syncing to like a song that was by a black artist. So
clearly it wasn't Ebony and Ivory.
He walks in and he's in like full blackface, and so Nell Carter takes it as that moment. That's a teaching moment.
It's a teaching moment. Okay.
Again, we're talking about a character who this was Joey Lawrence when he was like 4 years old,
right?
So it's
early
a child.
80s.
But again, to your point, even if it's an innocence to it, you should be open to why somebody is hurt by this, why it is wrong, why it's incorrect. Again, back to the point of like the Cuban theaters that were doing it, my biggest problem there, aside from the fact that they were doing it, is that when you would tell them like this is why it's hurtful or offensive or wrong, they'd be like, no, but I don't understand.
Right.
It's like, no, you're being willfully ignorant.
Right. So I think that people that do it, I don't think they're racist or anything like that, but
some are.
You need, some are, but your run-of-the-mill person that maybe for Halloween does blackface, it's not that I think they're racist and they're horrible people, I just think that they don't know history, and they need to know history because this is why we have so many issues, because people don't know history, and history is something you have to know, because if not, you're gonna trip over the same thing over and over again. Yep. As far as the character of Black Panther, I see that differently, because
but to me that's the step too far.
Right, that's a costume.
That's a
costume.
Anybody could be under that hood.
Right, anyone could be under the hood.
But to me, that's taking this whole well, you shouldn't be a pregnant nun. Like, the nuns are they offended? Are they starting a change.org petition?
Yeah.
Like
everything else, there's moments or situations that are offensive and maybe are not well thought out. But then, of course, intent is important. But then, of course, there's another side of people that just blow it out of the water, and then everything's offensive. Like the Anne Frank thing, it's a costume, and again, as you and I always say,
a costume that you can like buy like at
yes,
City?
yeah. Well, it's
or
off
a
the
costume
shelf.
store.
Yes, and again, it's what you and I always say every time, like a company or an advertising agency, whether it's media, whatever, does these huge snafus and these PR, like
it had to go through like 40 people.
Like, again. How many people were in the room who thought, yeah, making an Anne Frank costume for a little girl is totally okay?
I'm just surprised they didn't make it a sexy Anne Frank.
Oh my god. No, yeah, I'm surprised.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised that they didn't make it a sexy Anne Frank because that's just what they do now.
Yeah, actually, let's put on our Instagram the picture. The picture's out there because you know how for all these costumes they have like the picture, the model.
You have to sell
yeah,
it.
there's like the model's out there. It's a little girl dressed as Anne Frank. Thank God. And then I forgot. This was like another joke. Because this costume, the Anne Frank one, is not new, and I think last year, or a couple of years ago, when it first made its rounds of like offensive costumes, I saw online that it said, it was a little girl dressed up as Anne Frank, and somebody put in Belieber because that Justin Bieber a few years ago when he went to Amsterdam,
That's right.
and he went to the Anne Frank house and visited the attic and all that. He said that Anne Frank would have been a fan of his. Oh my god.
Well, so she was a 14-year-old girl, so she probably would have.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
Bad choice of words, but again, to your point, there's an ignorance there. He wasn't right.
So I mean, I look. I think there's a line. What's offensive and what's not. I mean, again, something like blackface. I even think sometimes
there was an uproar this year about Sexy Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
People were like, that's inappropriate because The Handmaid's Tale is a tale of sorrow and feminism.
But it's like a total fictional character.
And it's like, A, that's not a real person. B,
it's not a real story.
I mean, who am I disrespecting? The page?
The writer?
The tree that died to publish it? Like, who's being disrespected by this?
Anyway, well, we hope everybody has a fun Halloween.
Yes.
Moving right along to some more little hot topics. Bueno, have you seen the news?
I mean, I have, but what in particular?
Of the caravan?
I have. It's not a fun caravan.
It's not a Dodge Caravan heading this way.
I was a little upset.
It's... Was that offensive?
To the Dodge Caravan or to the people coming?
Yes. To the people coming. I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, so there is a caravan of people, mostly from Honduras.
Right. It's not the Venga bus.
The Venga bus is coming and everybody's jumping. New York to San Francisco, get up and
an intercity disco.
Your disco needs you. Anyway,
it's a medley now.
It's a medley.
So they're coming from Honduras.
A lot of them are from Honduras.
And about 7,000 people, right?
It's a lot of people. They've gone through gates. They defied authorities in, I believe, Guatemala, and they're going through Guatemala up through Mexico to the U.S. border. It's a very hard situation because it's a lot of people, and they're defying laws.
My heart goes out to them
to get where they get,
but they're they're flagrantly.
But let me ask you this, though.
Thumbing their nose at authority.
They are.
And that I have
but a lot of these people are really they're fleeing for their lives because it's not a situation where they are living uncomfortably or in poverty. A lot of these people are fleeing for their lives because I didn't know until recently that in Honduras, the capital, San Pedro Sulas, is the most dangerous city in the world. It's more dangerous than Baghdad, Iraq.
Really?
And yes, because there the gang problem is so large that, for example, if you're in a gang and you want to recruit someone and you go to the kid and you say, hey, I want you to join my gang, and the kid refuses, they'll kill the kid and his family. So then what choice do you have? It's like this vicious circle.
Right.
So obviously there's a lot of crime, and obviously there's poverty and all that. So these people really are they really are leaving their country for a better life in America or wherever. Which is the same thing that we did, which is the same thing that our families did.
Fair enough. But for you to just show up somewhere and say, because a Pepe Cojone, yo voy a entrar, and I'm going to bring, a small army to do it.
Yeah.
No.
No, I mean, look, I see...
I'm coming in whether you want to or not. I have an issue with that. And then you have the audacity to get upset when people say, no, you need to slow your roll.
Yeah, I understand all that.
No pun intended.
I just don't think that this is a black and white issue. I think there's a lot of gray here because, what happened to...
Okay, but the problem is if the first time you say, you know what, come right in, then the second time it's going to be 14,000.
Right, but what happened to give me your weak, give me your tired, your poor, what's on the Statue of Liberty? The United States...
Times changed too.
No, but the United States has been built on immigration. And let's not forget when other people have immigrated, when Italians were immigrated to the U.S., there were persona non grata.
I
when
agree.
the Irish,
I understand.
and look how those groups of immigrants, what they have done for this country. So that's why I say... It's not a black and white issue because I understand that we are a country of laws and there is a process. And as much as my heart goes out to these people, I don't believe in open borders because there has to be some limit. There has to be some type of gauge, some type of process. Right. But I also don't think, as some people say and have some media outlets have reported, that these are like terrible nuisances of people that are coming over here. And
to me, it's not about that. To me, it's just about you're thumbing your nose in such a blatant way.
They're being defiant. And
there's one thing to be defiant. It's another thing to say, okay, you know what? You're not going to let me in. Oh, but you're going to let me in because I'm bringing, 7,000 people. And we're just going to storm the gates. That's a problem.
What I do know is that...
Can I ask a very ignorant question?
What?
Or maybe it's not that ignorant. They have to go through Mexico. And obviously Mexico's embroiled in this whole situation too because...
Mexico's trying to stop them.
They're trying to stop them. Can't Mexico offer them some type of asylum or partial, or say, hey, those of you who wish to stay, I don't know, maybe it goes down from 7,000 to 3,500. Again, that's an ignorant question, but that's
what Mexico's tried to do, and that is what that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to seek asylum. Mm-hmm. Now, what has happened with asylum is that under the Trump administration, Jeff Sessions has said that it's rape. Yes, it's not as broad as it used to be at one point. Right. That things I believe like rape or sexual assault or even the whole scenario I gave of gangs that doesn't qualify anymore under their interpretation of asylum to qualify for asylum. Okay. So they may very well get here. Be processed and be turned right back around. So, I mean, like immigration, it's a very complicated issue that doesn't have one right answer. What I will say about this particular caravan and the timing is the timing could have not been worse because this is a kind of bow to Donald Trump and his supporters. Heading into the elections, in just
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, this is what people that, again, are in his camp and are his supporters that are like hardline against immigration, this is what they're going to use as an example. Oh, well, look at all these people defying orders and trying to get into the country, and this is what we're going to let in our country. So this was kind of like a gift. Like, here you go. Right. Here you go. So I can't imagine, I mean, who knows what will happen between now and the actual election, but I can't imagine this
boding well
for, the blue.
It's just one more thing that we're tossing in there.
Yeah, the blue wave is turning into a ripple at this point.
You never know. You never know. But you know what I do know?
That we are a little hungry.
We are so hungry. And you know why we're hungry, listeners? Because we're reliving the insane meal that this week's guest, Chef Chris Valdes, made for us when we interviewed him.
So, Chris Valdes came to my home.
And his publicist, Areli.
And, yes, she was wonderful. Yeah. And he cooked us an amazing meal. I mean, it was incredible, from appetizers to like an entree to salad. I mean, it was great. And not only was he a lot of fun and he was a great interview, but he has a hell of a story to tell. So that's coming up next.
Yep, without further ado.
Hey everyone, as promised, here we are with our interview with Chef Chris Valdes.
Yes, and unlike Liza, He is not with a Z.
He's with an S.
Yes.
And we also have his wonderful, awesome manager, Arely Ruiz, who's going to sit down in the conversation with us.
Yeah, she says she's not going to say anything, but let's see how long that takes.
Let's make sure she does. So Chef Chris and Arely, welcome to Pero Let Me Tell You. Before sitting down to this interview, Chris did like a whole smorgasbord for us. He did all types of food. So we may be in a little bit of a food coma as we're not drunk
interview. If we're slurring. It's food coma.
So we apologize in advance. But it was amazing what he did for us, and we are very honored that he came over and he cooked for us. So, Chris, before we say one word, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
For those of you who don't know who you are yet, tell us a little bit of your background.
My name is Chef Chris Valdes, and I like nuggets.
You said that several times.
We established this in our pre-interview.
I believe him.
Well, the truth is that, when I was small, my father, driving back from the restaurant, usually at 9 o'clock at night, he'd greet me every night with a box of 20-piece chicken nugget. So I think that's why today, at the age of 27, I am still serious about my nuggets and counting them and not sharing them. It's the only thing I won't share in my life. I'm like, don't ask me for a damn nugget. They're mine.
So what I'm hearing is that's your ideal Valentine's date.
Crap, if you give me a box of nuggets, I'll love you forever. Like,
now we know.
I'll open my most expensive bottle of wine for you. I'll put some Frank Sinatra. Shit, I'll put a candle for you and like...
And yes, ladies and gentlemen, he is a chef and he loves those McDonald's nuggets.
Anyways, like I was saying about the truffle oil, my life has been pretty interesting. When I go back and I think about everything, I was born and raised into our Latin restaurant. So ever since I was small, I would always ask my mom, what are you cooking? What are you adding in there? Why does it smell like this? Why are you using that? And she always took the time to answer those questions. And being in that environment led to me going to culinary school. Obviously, when I was 10 years old, that we had lost our restaurant in our family, I am flipping through the channels and I see Emerald, and that one instinct that I could replay in my head. At that age, I decided I wanted to be on the Food Network and I wanted to be like Chef Emerald. That, along with what I saw my mom doing at the age of 19, going to culinary school, winning a scholarship, opening my own catering company at the age of 19 as well.
19?
19. Yeah.
Damn,
19. So it's been 8 years with the catering company. All of it put together is just so surreal. So it's like I tell people at the age of 26, when I'm standing on the Food Network logo, I just keep going back to my childhood, and then you start understanding why things happen, how they happen. Mm-hmm. In life, you ask yourself, why did this happen, and why did that happen, and why me? But eventually you start figuring out why. Standing on that logo, I kept replaying all of these things, and I'm like, that's why.
We actually interviewed Eileen Andrade from Finca, and her parents were the owners of Isla Canaria, and she told us that growing up she wanted nothing to do with the food industry. She wasn't interested whatsoever. In fact, she studied something else.
Design.
She didn't study design. When you were a kid and your parents had a restaurant, at that time, were you interested in the business and being a chef, or is this something that as you grew older you kind of fell into, or you knew that was the direction you wanted to take?
As a businessman, yes, I would steal all of my father's produce, and I would go outside to our customers, and I would sell them oranges, I would sell them potatoes, I would put them in little to-go bags, and I would sell it. So as a businessman, yes, I always had that instinct. And he would laugh because he's like, oh, I can't criticize him because he's my child and he's just like me. No, I think growing up, I really had a fascination for politics and law. And wow. I wanted to be a lawyer. So in high school, in high school I had a fascination for political science and law school. But definitely what drove me to culinary school, I had a passion for it, but what drove me was the scholarship, that I had won the scholarship, and I'm like, fine, I'll go this route.
To Le Cordon Bleu.
To Le Cordon Bleu, yes.
Right, that's pretty prestigious.
Yeah, I didn't even know at the time what I was doing, and I was like, wow, if I won, I must be the chosen one, and I'll go to...
You thought that's just where they made the chicken?
So I thought for some reason that on the first day or in the first semester we would learn how to make chicken cordon bleu. Well, guess what? They never taught us how to make the damn chicken cordon bleu. They taught us how to make veal cordon bleu. And I remember I went to the dean and I'm like, don't you think you should teach everyone how to make the chicken cordon bleu? So they're like, no, everyone mocks us for it, so you'll learn how to make veal. I'm like, oh, okay.
That is like my favorite dish, by the way, chicken cordon bleu.
Yeah.
If I go to a wedding and they have chicken cordon bleu, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, because you got this scholarship, when you were finishing up high school.
Right.
How do you get a scholarship to a culinary school? How is that admissions process? Do they try your food? Do you have a portfolio?
So when I was
about the baking incident.
So when I was in
Oh, now you have to.
yeah, when I was in yeah, she's better at this than I am.
For the record, that took about 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Until we heard her on camera.
I think
She said she wasn't
yeah,
going to.
If you watch some other videos and podcasts, I think it is a record. Mark it down for future reference. I was in Felix Varela, my high school, and one of my teachers, she's like, there's a baking competition at Le Cordon Bleu. If you submit an essay with less than I don't know how many words, and they like you, they'll choose 10 students, and then they do a baking competition. I was a little hesitant at first because at the time, I considered myself the world's worst baker. Like, I could legit do the show right now back then. So I did an essay, and I still have the essay. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever written. I love writing, but this was just I had explained how I lost my father, but for me, Chef Emerald was like my father figure.
Oh, wow.
And it was less than 250, but it's the most emotional thing I've ever written, or every time I read it, I start tearing up. So what happens is that I submit that, and they call me and they're like, we want you to be in the baking competition. I'm like, oh my God, this is exciting. Right. So since I don't know jack crap about baking, I look up Emerald recipe. So I remember it was a French tart. I didn't practice it. I'm like, if Emerald could make it, I could make it. He's going to guide me through it like a ratatouille case, and it's going to be like magical. It was not magical. It was the worst day of my life. So let me guide you through this. First of all, I spent around 20 minutes melting chocolate when I later found out that we have like 40 pounds of chocolate pre-melted for everyone. So I lost time there. Remember, you only have like 2-3 hours. The other thing is that over there they have the industrial mixing machines. I floured myself like Kim Kardashian style. I floured myself and the kitchen. Then after cleaning up that mess, I'm like, let me just go to the cream side. I washed myself in cream and some others. As I'm melting the chocolate, I'm like, somebody's burning something. It was my towel that caught on fire. And
God.
when I noticed, I throw it on the floor. I don't even know what to do. So I caused the fire. That's off the record, by the way. And then my tart, if you know anything about tarts, they need time to set. Yeah, with 3 hours, your tart is never going to set. I don't care who makes the tart. Emerald, Gordon Ramsay, it's never going to set because it's just science. So I decided to name it a tart smoothie, and that didn't work as well. So yeah, it was definitely the worst day of my life. And when I got to school, that was on a Saturday. When I got to school on the Monday, everyone was asking me. Everyone knew about it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to go to law school. And they're like, my God, was it that bad? I'm like, I don't even want to go into the details. It's going to wreck my life. Like, I don't want to know anything about it. I hate cooking. So a week later, one of my teachers, she's like, now they're doing the cooking competition, and this time it's a bigger reward. And I'm like, no, thank you. I'm gonna go to law school. I'm watching Judge Judy nonstop. I've replaced Emerald for Judge Judy. Judge Judy, it's very easy. I could do it. At the time I was 18, 17. I had, you have that mentality. I'm like, Judge Judy could do it. I could do it. I could be mean and tell people. So
I could see you with pearls.
Yeah. I dig pearls. So she's like, Christopher, you're giving up, and I'm like, no, I'm not. The baking gave it up. What happens is a week later, I get an acceptance letter, and they're like, you've been chosen to compete. And I call Le Cordon Bleu, and I tell them, what type of mean, cruel joke is this? If you don't remember, I caused the fire. I threw cream all over the kitchen. I floured everyone. My tart never. So I'm just having a rant session, and they're like, no, we received your essay and your submission. I'm like, really? What email did it come from? And it was the teacher's email. So one of my teachers submitted my old essay with an application that they forged, by the way. So the day of the competition, I arrive. I had an Emerald recipe I had never tried. I was just like, you know what? I sucked last time. Might as well suck this time too.
You already tried to burn the place down. What's the
Yeah,
worst that can
I'm
happen
like, what's
now?
the worst that could happen? So I bump into this girl, and I don't know who she is, and I know she's like, oh, I remember you. You're the one that caused the fight. I'm like, yeah, that's me. I didn't remember her. Obviously, everyone was paying attention to me as usual. I'm always causing some sort
And
of...
Areli, this is a great story.
Yes,
thank you for bringing it up. Thank you.
So I asked her, she's like, what are you cooking? I'm like, something with fire. And she's like, and I'm like, what are you cooking? She's like, pasta. I'm like, you're making pasta for $10,000? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, what are you cooking for real? And right there, when I'm about to answer, they're like, okay, time to start. So this damn girl's voice is in my head saying, what are you cooking? What are you cooking? The fire. What are you cooking? So as I'm walking over there, they say 3, 2, 1, start. And I had this feeling inside of me, which, now I know it's an intuition, and I know I have like a great intuition. I could feel things from miles away. Like if I want to eat nuggets, my intuition will tell me an hour before you want to eat nuggets. So I, right there, something told me, follow your heart. Just, might as well, if you're going to go down, might as well go down with following your heart. I'm like, Emerald, I love you, but you know what? I'm just going to cook from the heart. And I did that day, and when I was done, I had brought my own plates, so I was different from her. I brought my own plates. I presented the table. I always get points for being clean because I'm very clean as I cook,
Which we witnessed firsthand.
and sanitation. I'm very clean on something. Like some other girl was touching the chicken and herself at the same time. Like, okay, so anyways, that's TMI. But what happens is that when I'm done, I'm like, hey, I have to go. I'm going to be late for work. And they're like, yeah, you could leave. I'm like, yeah, I didn't cause a fire this time, so let me just leave. So as I'm leaving, the lady's like, wait, you can't leave. You won. I'm like, oh, cool. Okay, so I stayed 2 hours. We cleaned the whole kitchen. And I'm like, cool, I won like 3rd place. That's not bad. So when they announced 3rd place, I'm like, wow, I won 2nd place. When they announced 2nd place, I'm like, oh, this little itch. She told me this so I would stay here and clean that damn kitchen. So when they said my name at $10,000 and I was holding that certificate, the only thing I could remember is I felt bad I didn't invite my family over because I thought I was going to be a failure again. But little did I know that it would be one of the biggest stories that would teach me something.
That is a great story.
Yeah.
And what did
That's
you
a beautiful
cook?
story.
I cooked pasta. But I made my own sauce from scratch. And
You beat that girl at her own game.
Yeah. She's like, oh, you were making pasta too. That's why you didn't tell me. I'm like, yeah, you inspired me.
Did you ever find out who was the teacher that submitted your application?
Of course. When years later, when I go to Felix Varela as the principal of the day, the Miami Herald reporter was following me around everywhere, and he interviewed the teachers. So I showed each teacher, she was responsible for this, and she was responsible. So they interviewed them, and yes, and the teacher, I always thank her. I feel that as teachers or as human beings, one of the things you could give people is motivation. Sometimes we're having a bad day, or sometimes we don't think we're good enough. Like, just with a little kick of motivation could go a long way. And that teacher she did her job as one of those teachers that go above and beyond, and she entered me through that, and I'm always thankful for it.
What was her name?
Miss well, there's a few of them. Each one played, but this one was Miss Hyatt.
Miss Hyatt.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Miss Hyatt, on behalf of somebody who ate his food, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for pushing him. Cause
That's a great story.
That's a great story.
I mean, that's a
Yeah.
great story. I feel that sometimes people take a course in life or go down a certain road that they didn't expect, and like in your case, it started off literally on fire.
Yeah.
And
It's a great joke.
literally. But I mean, look at where you are now. I mean,
Yes.
So you start at Le Cordon Bleu. When you were there, because I mean, I looked into the school and I know it's pretty intense. Were there moments that you're like, crap, I'm in over my head? Or was it, you knew you were in your element?
I've always known I've had a connection with food, so being there just felt right. I was a student ambassador. I was the president of the student body, and anything food events wise for the school, I was always in the groups. I would always take leadership with the groups, and so yeah, it always felt right. There was nothing wrong about it. It was all about food. So just imagine like a whole food world, and everything's about food, and you're eating nonstop. I mean, I gained like 40 pounds eating nonstop. The smells and all of these things. The only class I didn't like was wine class because I was 18. And I'm like, shit, this is illegal. So we would drink every class like 7, even if they're sample size,
Right.
7 different wines per. So do you smell this? Do you taste the oakiness? We're like, no, bitch, we're getting drunk. Like, and we would be like, woo! And he's like, you guys failed the test again. I'm like, no shit, we're all drunk. Like, we're 18-year-olds. What do you expect? So the older people, they would ace the test. We would all be looking at each other like, how are we getting away with this? Like, we could sue the school. So the whole time, and me and my friend would look at, I'm like, why do I, and the next time I'm like, why do I feel like yesterday's class was all a blur? Like, literally it was a blur because we were drinking. So yeah, but culinary school felt right from the beginning, and I'm glad that the story went how it went, because through high school you don't know where you're going, or you don't know what path to take. You have the path your parents want you to take, you have the path you want to take, you have the path your friends are taking, so you're like, where should I go? And I felt that this took me to the place where I belonged, and obviously it was with food. I mean, you see how passionate I am about the nuggets.
Yeah. That alone.
Yeah. Why didn't you and I go to culinary school? They would have had to roll us out of there.
And I think you answered your own question.
Yeah.
So you were saying, you live food, you love food, you started your own catering company at 19, and I'm going to fast forward a couple of years, because you were recently, you mentioned earlier about being on the Food Network logo, and so for those listeners who aren't aware, you were one of the contestants on Next Food
Network season 14.
Season 14. Yes. And did you ever think, thinking back to when you would watch Emerald, did you ever think that you would be on the Food Network as well?
I knew one day it would happen, but it's just that when it happened, you validate your wow, this is what I worked so hard for. This is, and at the age of 10, when I'm going to the channels and I see Emerald, I have all these images in my head. I see people taking pictures, I see flashes and all, and I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, I'm 10 years old and I'm seeing crap in my head. So later on, it's just, I had seen a vision of what happens when you go to all these events, and when you're on set and things like that, people taking pictures and people asking you, like, for example, when I went to Puerto Rico, it was like 20 interviews in an hour. In an hour nonstop. People with a microphone take a picture with me, next, and it was like in Puerto Rico. It was so fascinating. And again, I did a lot of work over there, and I had traveled there before, and I took many donations for the whole hurricane, so I'm guessing that was another reason. But it's just like, I was amazed of how much people want to meet you and know you, and they're fascinated by the story. And I think it also involves the Latin group empowerment, and how you could inspire other Latin people. So but definitely, it's just what I saw that day is just what I'm living now. And then when I saw the logo and I saw Emerald, and then I'm standing on the logo, I just couldn't stop replaying those flashbacks. And
you came full circle.
Yeah, and I was very thankful, and I'm just like, again, I felt completed, like I had completed my mission with that little image I had at the age of 10.
That's quite a big deal, because a lot of people could have taken your path, but not everybody would have ended up at the Food Network. Right. So that's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, it was a lot of persistence, but like I said on the show, I feel that what I get from this whole Food Network experience, I feel that it was like a little, how do I say it? It was like a little going back in time and saying to that 10-year-old, because I was going through a lot of things at that age with my family and whatnot. It's like saying, this is for you, and that's what it was for me. It was for that child, that my inner child. I didn't have a childhood, so just doing that, I felt something felt right inside that had been missing for years. No?
And I'm crying. I am.
I know.
Like, that's just
I didn't.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is. And you keep mentioning Emerald, and it's funny because I've been a fan of the Food Network for a really long time, and I'd like to think I'm a foodie, and something that I hold in very high regard is that to this day, I think Emerald is the best chef the Food Network has had. And I remember his show Emerald Live. I mean, that show has always, in my humble little opinion, has always blown away every other show the Food Network has had with other chefs. And also, I feel that the food Emerald did, to quote him, was above the notches of other people. Did you just have an attraction to Emerald because of the complexity of his recipes and what he did, or was it part of the personality? Because there were a lot of people on the Food Network that you could have, quote unquote, been inspired by.
I could totally answer that question now because I feel that I'm just like him. Emerald is not only a chef, he's an entertainer. Yeah. And that's what I do. People say, "Oh, you're a chef. You cook." I'm like, no. I entertain people. I put on some music. Let's laugh. Let's have fun. Let's enjoy food, something that we all enjoy in this world. So there's a universal language right there. So I think Emerald was able to tap into that. All these other chefs, they're great chefs. They could teach you how to cook something. But see, to teach you how to cook something, to teach you it's okay to make it in large portions, to throw this, to throw that, no measurements. You would never hear him say half a cup or a tablespoon. No. Throw this, throw that, throw this, bam, 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 done. Yeah. So, and that's how I like to teach cooking, because I'm like, a lot of people are afraid to cook. And it's not hard. It's just you add a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and that, and bam. Like it's not. There's no rules to it, and I'm like, in life, there's no rules to how to do things the perfect way. Everyone has a different life, different scenario, and I feel like cooking is the same way. You just have to have a little bit of confidence and go along with it, and taste here, taste there, and I felt that's what made me fall in love with him. Mm-hmm. The fact that he was serious about it, but he was fun about it, and he's like, you know what? He had like a little Julia Child mentality, like, to hell with it. Like, if it comes out good, good. If it doesn't, we learn for next time, and we, so that's what I liked about Chef
That definitely comes through, not just in person. I mean, just, again, you've made some delicious things for us, and you're obviously an entertainer. You're super charismatic, but the charisma carries over into your YouTube series as well. It was Cooking with Chris, right?
Cooking with Chris, yes.
Which is about to have its fourth season.
Yes.
One of the things that's funny, you mentioned, no measurements, whatever. I noticed in several of the videos, whenever you use olive oil, the way you kind of just like move the bottle, like, yeah, I'm putting it in here now. Yeah. Like you're gonna figure it out. It'll taste good. Don't worry about it. And if not, you can put a little more over here, a little over there. But there's a love and a I don't know the word I'm looking for, but just it looks so natural, and you come across like you are enjoying being in that kitchen. It's not a chore.
Yeah, I translates. Love it. And I think growing up, for me, my therapy was cooking. When my mom comes inside the door when I was 10 and I cooked my first dish, which was an arroz con pollo, she's like,
your first dish
who made this? At the age of 10.
Damn.
And she's like, who made this? I'm like, oh, I made it with the help of Emerald. She's like, ¿Quién es Emerald? I'm like, Emerald's my friend. She's like, yo te he dicho que no traigas a nadie aquí. ¿Quién te enseñó a hacer eso? I'm like, no, mom, you have to understand. Emerald, bam. Que bam, que? And just so typical Cuban mom.
It kept going downhill.
And I'm trying to explain to her, and she's like, ¿Dónde está Emerald? And I'm like, no, mom, a las 7. ¿Y por qué a las 7? ¿Va a comer con nosotros? I'm like, no, on TV, Food Network.
Emerald and B were mommy.
Yes, my mom was not having it. So what happens is that thank God it was like 6:30. Otherwise, I would have gotten slapped the crap out of me. So thank God I served. She took a shower. I served the meal, and we watched Emerald together. And she's like, yes, Emerald. I'm like, yes, mommy, that's Emerald. So,
but you know what though? Something I will say about Emerald and about your YouTube series, you're there cooking something and showing how to make something, but it's kind of subtle, the things you say that people have an opportunity to learn. Like, I remember one time, I'll never forget this, watching Emerald live some years back, that he kind of said, an epidemic in America is that everybody cooks on the high. And I've never forgotten that, because it's true. Everybody, when they cook on the stovetop, they crank it up to high and they burn whatever rather than, a medium. And I, very subtle, but it's something that sticks with you. And like, yes. I noticed that on your YouTube channel, on your, episodes, that's kind of like what you do. You throw these little tricks and subtleties in there that
life lessons.
You don't really realize, like, you're learning, but in essence, you are. Yes. Did you do that on purpose, or it's just how it comes out?
It comes out, but it's also like who I am. So, like, people that work with me, I'm always throwing lines like that they'll stick to it. I don't know. It just comes out. Like, I don't know what's inside comes out of this mouth, but it's magical. So let's stick to it. But it works. And it's, I don't think hard to say. I don't know. It just comes out. I don't know how to.
But you're natural. You're a natural.
You're
a natural kid.
I like the nuggets I eat.
Yeah. So with that said,
there are many things, but not natural.
With your YouTube channel, because I know that you have the perfect burger, short ribs. What is your like main goal with your YouTube channel?
To inspire others like I was once inspired. Like the other day, I was doing a community event, and this little girl comes up to me, and I'm serving so many people that I just like, hi, how are you next? Hi, how are you next? Hi, how? But this little girl catches my attention because I'm like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? She's like, I want to be on the Food Network, and I looked at her in the eyes, and I'm like, when I was a little boy, my dream was to be on the Food Network, and you know what I did, a few months ago, and she's like, what? I was just on the Food Network. I don't know what was it with that little girl that we just formed a connection right away, and I think it's because I saw myself as a child, right. and her eyes, she's like, you think I could be on the Food Network? And I looked at her, I'm like, oh, you will be. And I even pulled her mother aside. I'm like, we need to talk. But I think it's that, and then I also think that it's empowerment. Like I said, people think that they can't cook, or people think that they have to go to school to learn how to cook, or there's a right way of cooking. No. Like, it's just, you have to have an open mentality and just go for it.
And not cook on high.
And not cook on, but it's funny you said that, because I'm like, shit, I always put everything on high. But I never burn it. So then when you said burn, I'm like, oh, but I don't burn it. But I do cook on high. I like things done like yesterday, so I'll put everything on high, and obviously I toss it in the air and things like that, so it helps. But yeah, I started laughing because I think I was guilty of that too. But yes, empowerment and just to inspire. I feel that if there's one thing you could do as a human in this world with anything, is just inspire someone to do something, to go for their dreams, despite their obstacles, despite their bad moments, despite what they may have or may not have. Inspire.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, to our listeners out there, we can't urge you enough to take a look at Chris's YouTube channel. It's Chris Valdes with an S. On YouTube, and you're gonna find a ton of videos there of different things he's made, and
interviews.
Interviews. It's really, really interesting, and it has a little bit of everything for everyone. What can we expect in this new season?
So this new season comes after Food Network Star, so you do see a person more polished. So no Batman suit, no chicken suit, but you do see. I do have some suits for Halloween, so don't worry.
Okay.
But no suits, and it's a little bit more about me and the cooking. But definitely, you still see fun recipes. All about easy cooking and making it easy for people. I tell people, I went to school, I broke my head for it. Let me just teach you how to make it like the easy way. Let me not bore you with all this terminology. And, people are like, oh, the French term. No, my ass, the French term. Like, I don't care about the French term. This is how you do it, and let me show you how to do it in a fun way. Because if you bring out the terms book, that's like bringing like a rule book. Like, these are the rules. No, nobody wants that. So I try to give it a fun approach and a fun point of view, so that it makes people want to cook, and which has been working. The messages people send me, and they're like, oh, I tried this recipe, and the other day a wife writes me a message. She's like, I don't know what you did, but my husband cooked for the first time and he did a great job, and she sends me a picture and all of that. So I was mind blown with those things. Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Yes. And another thing I want to say, just really quick, I know it's a little off topic, but since we were talking about inspiring, there's this gentleman, this fan, that he writes to me a lot. One of the things that he shared with me was his birthday was coming up. I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool, this and that. And he's like, well, every time my birthday month comes around, I get depressed. I'm like, oh, why is that? He's like, oh, because I think about the time that I wanted to commit suicide on my birthday 5 years ago. When I read that, I am like, wow. And every now and then I'll put the suicide hotline number on my Instagram just out of nowhere. Like, sometimes people think it's because of me, and they're like, are you okay? It's like, no, I'm sharing it for others to see, because you never know who's listening. Right. But after what he writes, I tell him, hey, it's your birthday, you can't look about it, you have to forget about that, you have to move forward. He's like, oh, but I'm very low. So I was talking to him, and he's like, you inspire me so much, and I'm so thankful to follow you in these things. And it's just, like I said, people are always listening, and if you could save one person, this man, I don't even know who he is. It's the conversations we have is just regular conversations through Instagram. But I feel that there's a lot of people that need just a little bit of light and inspiration, and if you could spread a little bit of that, and you could save a life, yes. And I felt accomplished that day, because it makes me, and I'm very excited too because he's in San Antonio. So when we go to San Antonio, I could meet him and we could give him a little birthday dinner or something like that.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yes, that's one of my goals to do that. I hope he doesn't listen to this. But
Well, we hope he does.
Well, afterwards. But yes. So I was very happy. So since we were talking about inspiration, I was able to inspire him and
well, you are inspiring because I think that you're somebody that came from humble beginnings, and you've come all the way. I mean, you're living your dream, which not a lot of people do, and you were on the freaking Food Network.
I was on the Food Network, but more mind-blowing is, we all have a little checklist in our lives, like a little bucket list and checklist and goal list, and, a lot of people tend to say, oh, tomorrow. I grabbed that fucking list, and I'm like, I'm making each one of these happen. So every time that it happens, each thing happens, it's just mind-blowing how powerful the mind is, and it just goes to show when you work hard and you really want something and you go for it and you see the results, there's nothing like it. So I feel that my whole life is just mind-blowing. I can't even think about it because you compare it to those beginnings. My father went to jail for 19 years. We lost our restaurant, we lost our homes, we lost our cars, we lost our family. I lost my favorite person, which was my father at the time, and we went from being in such a place in society to starting from the bottom scratch. And people are like, oh, that's no big deal. But yeah, when you're used to something and then you're introduced to something new and you have no guidance, that could be a problem. My mom used to work 3 jobs just to support me. We moved into those 2 tall buildings in the east of Hialeah. But I feel that that's where my journey begins. Yeah. So, and I feel that all of that happened. And it positioned me to where I am today. I mean, with the Emerald story, the appreciating things in life, like I could enjoy a $500 meal by myself, and I could go to McDonald's at night after
and
it,
have your nuggets.
and I could enjoy a $5 meal just as much. So it's just I think it set me up for just like life. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are in life. We all go through something.
And I could tell you
I am so
that
inspired by you right now.
No, that
I'm not even joking.
No, you know why? That it makes you really humble. We've said this story on the podcast a few times, so to our listeners, I apologize, but we're going to say it again. When we started this podcast, nobody knew us. It was just us two and a microphone. Yeah. And once we got a little bit of momentum going, we started reaching out to influencers and people and all that. And you'd be surprised how many people just didn't give us a time of day and just didn't pay attention to us or sent us contracts and wanted licensing and stuff like that for our little podcast. And you're a bona fide, food, network, TV personality, somebody who's so distinguished in your field. You came to us, you cooked at, my house, and, you were so welcoming, and that speaks volumes to who you are.
And that's from the moment we met you at Croquetapalooza.
Yes.
You were just so kind and so,
that's
warm.
Because you could have totally gone the other way, right? You could have, gone to the Food Network and been I'm a reality, person, and gotten a really stuck-up manager.
I have to give her a hard time. I have 2 things to say about that. So the reason I came today was, first of all, the impression that you guys both caused at the Croquetapalooza, just that the fact that you guys came 30 times to eat the croquetas.
Yes, we did.
That and just you could just tell I speak foodie language, and you two, you could just tell you're both foodies, and you could tell you're people persons, and I enjoy people persons, and you guys definitely, you're so loving, you're taking the pictures, you were telling everyone, I'm like, are they promoters for this event or something? They're telling everyone, you have to eat his croquetas. So just seeing that, I couldn't say no, because you could we speak the same language. You could tell you love foods. It's like if I bring nuggets right now, I know we'll have to fight over them.
Yes.
So, and then the second thing I want to say is, unfortunately, and I've been in that situation before, where you're like, I want to do a video with you. You're like, with you? No. Or they're like, yeah, you have to pay us if you want to do that. Right. Or this. So I've been in that situation. My lesson with that is, don't be so stuck up, because it might return to you. Since I've experienced that, I believe in giving people opportunities and giving people shots. And if you have something that you could give to others and it's not going to hurt you a little, why not? So I'm like, This is definitely.
We love him.
All right, you've made me cry like 3 times now,
No,
Chris.
no
All
crying.
right,
You know, my friends, we're going to, we go to the bars or things like that, and usually when someone goes to the bathroom, they come back, they're like, "God damn it, Chris, you made him cry." He's like, "Chris is right. I'm ready. I want to be inspired." I'm like, "No, we're clubbing. We don't want to do that."
You know, if this whole cooking thing, you know, you whatever want to change course, you should totally be a motivational speaker.
Yeah. Somebody get this guy a TED Talk.
No, it's just natural in me. Like, I went to and I spoke at the Miami-Dade Culinary Institute. You know, I was saying things and I'm like, why are these people looking at me so serious? And then at the end they're like, "You made me cry." I'm like, "I did? That was not part of the plan." And then the parents are like, "Oh my God, we've learned so much." I'm like, "Wait, you could be my mom and my dad. Like, what the hell? What's going on here?"
So I want to take it back a little bit to the Food Network part of this, because you know that it's a Food Network. Everybody knows. Next Food Network star. Now we know that some of the challenges they give on that show are like crazy. What were some of the challenges that you were kind of like, what the heck?
So I think all of them are what the heck is this? Because, you know, they're like, "Oh, do a cartwheel while you're throwing fire out of your mouth, while you're doing jumping jacks, while you're smiling. But make sure you're not smiling too much because then it's creepy. And be friendly, but don't be friendly at the same time." So yes,
And make us
that's
play.
how it feels like. And they're like, "Action!" And you're like, "Oh." So one of the moments that I could say that is on the Star Salvation with Alex Cornicelli, I'm making the mac and cheese balls and bites. Sorry, the mac and cheese bites, and they wouldn't form, and I was pissed off at the damn bites because they wouldn't form. I'm like, I'm not going home because some damn bites because of some bites. And I'm like,
balls bites? Yeah, don't go home because of that. No.
Fine,
Balls bites nuggets.
and they wouldn't form. So the thing is that in the moment where I'm really concentrating, thinking about, because I've done plan A through L so far and nothing works, so I'm so concentrated, and you're doing a live interview. So as I'm whisking and I'm thinking about all these things, she goes in back of me. She's like, "Hi." I'm like, "Hi!" And I'm like, and I turn around, I'm like, and when I see like literally 20 cameras in front of me, I'm like, "Hi." And she's like, "What are you cooking?" I'm like, "I'm cooking. I'm cooking." And she's like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "The mac and cheese." And she's like, "So what are you adding?" I'm like, "I'm adding the pasta to the pasta." She's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yes, really. I'm adding the pasta to the pasta." So when I see that on TV, I'm like, the home viewer doesn't know that I'm going to full like catastrophe inside because of some damn balls bites. And she's just looking at me and she's like, "Really?" I'm like, yeah, pasta with pasta." And she's like, she's looking at me like I'm insane, and I'm just looking at those cameras like, "Hi." Like I'm losing it. So yeah, so definitely there was that challenge where you have, I don't know, you just pull it out of, you know, a rabbit out of a hat, and you make it happen. And then the other one, which was very controversial, was the first challenge, which is the you have to turn your signature dish into park friendly. So one of the things is that Jada asked me, "What are you making?" I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna make my pan-seared salmon. I'm gonna make it park friendly by turning it into a salad." And she's like, and my mentality was, you know, she looks like she eats healthy. Let me serve her a salad. And she's like, "No, it has to be park friendly. You cannot use a fork or a knife." And I'm like, "Okay, so, you know, let me turn it into a burger or something." And they were very strict on it. They told me you cannot use a fork or a knife. So what happens is that I cook my dish, and then one of the other contestants, and by the way, just, you know, on the record, we love each other, all of us. You know, it just happens, you know, and it's TV, so you have to understand that there's
a lot of stress at
the
that
Kardashian.
moment. Yeah.
No, not even the stress. No, it's just the Kardashian element to it, where you have to make everything like you drop the water. So it's something
Not the water.
It's something like that, like mom. So this is so there's that element to it, so that it's interesting for the viewers. But the thing is that they were very strict with me about the fork and knife. So I turned my salad idea into a burger.
Okay.
So the other contestant, she serves the jambalaya in a shot glass. So she's like, "Oh," and Jada's like, "How do you eat this?" And she's like, "Oh, you tip it back."
Right.
So picture Jada in your head and ask
right.
yourself if she would get a cup and tip it back. But she's like, oh, I'm not tipping anything back. And then everyone's like, oh, she's not tipping anything. So she's like, bring me a fork, please. So what happens is that I didn't use, I followed the rules. But the thing is that the tip it back person, realistically, no one would tip a rice like.
That's true.
Yeah, you wouldn't. Jambalaya, as good as it sounds, nobody would tip it back.
Yeah,
Like I don't picture myself at Universal, it was at Volcano Bay. I don't picture myself, oh, let me tip something back. Like, unless it's like whatever.
A shot.
So, when I get sent home, that caused a lot of controversy because there was the whole rule element that was enforced on one side and not on the other side. So,
Well,
that's all.
It's because he's Hispanic.
Whatever.
Yeah, but but I think everything serves its purpose, and I was very proud of what I did and whatnot. And
You should be.
And I'm not a Kardashian. That's all I'll say.
Well, no, because if not, this interview would have been 73 minutes long. If you
And instead of Areli, we would be dealing with Chris.
Oh God,
Jenner,
no.
because I am Chris, but Chris Jenner.
Chris Jenner, yes.
But by the way, I would not mind having Chris Jenner next to me. I'd cook for her. I would bring her hot chocolate. Like, just FYI, if it ever happens. I love Chris Jenner.
Well,
So-
putting it out there, Chris Jenner, if you want
So
hot
you've
chocolate.
accomplished so much, and you're still like a really young guy. What's next? Where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years?
Is this a job interview?
No, I would be asking him his goals.
Okay.
What are your goals?
She probably has a PowerPoint ready. She is the manager. How funny! I was at a tasting, and the lady kept saying she. I'm like, who is she? And if she is so important, why isn't she here? And she's like, oh, she is me. I refer to she as me. I'm like, ay, es loca. Ay, Dios mío. So every time I hear the word she, I think I picture her, because I'm like, where's? And then she's like, she. I'm like, okay, ma'am, you just said she. And she's like, no, I mean she as in her, not the other girl. I'm like, crap, how do I know what she's talking about? So anyways, I left that there. I didn't deal, but
That's hilarious.
no, at the time, I had to filter myself because loca para la piel, le prendo una velita ahí mismo, le digo a mi tía que venga y le haga el rosario, and but no, what was the question? Oh, well,
What are your objectives? What are your goals?
My goals. I always go back to that the first recipe I wrote, and it's to inspire and motivate, and anything I do involves those things. So I'm working on the Cooking with Chris 4. It's just a matter of finding the time to do it. I'm working on a little it's like a little glimpse of the behind the scenes of my life. I always tell everyone, if cameras were following me, I'd be rich by now. So then I thought, why don't I put people to follow me and then work on the rich part for later? So we're doing a little glimpse of that I'm looking forward to take out. We're going to start recording it as certain events start happening now at the end of the year. So I'm thinking about January, February to start releasing those. And even though it's a little glimpse to my life, like, there's always a message that I try to give out, inspiring, empowering, or if I go through a struggle, like, I like that struggle that you mentioned, that some people wouldn't work with you, because there's many people that didn't want to work with me, and then they want to work with me. Definitely, that's very inspirational, because I could be like them. I could turn into them and say, no, thank you, not give you an opportunity. But see, I know how it feels to be on the other side, and I would never want to do that. So but definitely, I'm working on the Cooking with Chris 4, the South Beach Food and Wine Festival. I'm very excited. Some new events coming up in February. The Doral Food and Wine, the gala for St. Jude. The book is in the works, but god damn it, so many recipes. I have all the recipes written, but you have to do each one. It's for there. It's for homework. I have a name for it. I have the recipes done. It has a cool theme to it, a Universal Miami theme to it. So I feel that
Good, because that's my next question. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the Miami theme is funny because in the Food Network, on the Food Network, Bobby Flay told me, make sure you don't turn into a caricature for the Miami thing. Like, why not? I'm from Miami. I was born and raised here. I see someone crazy in the Palmetto, I'm like, it's Miami. I see you see people hanging weird things from their cars. Miami. It's Miami. Like, everything, I'm like, it's Miami. Accept it for what it is. So Why not? Miami is universal. We have some of the best culinary scene right now. We have great artists from here, great talents from here. But it's such a special place, and I'm like, why wouldn't I promote that everywhere I go? And I tie it up with the Latinos. You know why? Because I'm from Miami and I am Latino, and why not? And if you want to turn me into a caricature for it, then I am it right there.
I mean, I don't know what he meant, by saying it's a character.
Yo no entiendo nada porque son estereotípicos.
He probably went to the wrong Latin restaurant. So next time we'll invite him. We'll invite him to the right one. And
well, I mean, that's a question that we've asked a few people here, the previous guests that we've had. What would you say is the Miami, in terms of food, what does Miami look like? If you had to give somebody a meal that was representative of Miami, what would that be?
Wow, that's a hard one. Like, my friends that usually come out of town and they come here, it's not one meal. Like, you must give me a full day because I'll take you to the breakfast. So we must have a tostada cubano with the café con leche. Let's sneak in a croquetica in there, and maybe unos huevos pericos, so you try something Colombian. Y la repita con queso. Okay, so that's the breakfast part. So then we'll probably go to the lunch, and you must try maybe like the rice and beans con una palomilla, with the raw onions and the cooked onions, and maybe some yuca fritas with like a little garlic aioli. Then we go to the beach side and we try a little something more serious. So we must have a mojito or a sangria, and then
you realize I've gained at least 5 pounds.
yeah, but that's the point. And then you try something with seafood. So we go from traditional Cuban / Latin breakfast, right. Then we go to something Cuban because it's very tradition. Then we go to something nicer with like a little seafood, because we have some of the best seafood with the little garlic butter and the cocktails and the mojito, and God knows if you go to what is it, Yuca or whatever.
Oh yeah, is that still open?
They have
Yuca
on Lincoln Road.
I went like 4 months ago, so I think it is.
So yeah.
It's funny. One day I was at that restaurant. It's my first time there, and I asked the waiter, "What do you recommend?" He's like, "I don't recommend this. I don't recommend that. Eso se demora mucho. Eso no sabe bueno." I'm like, "You're the first waiter I see that I ask for recommendations, and you recommend what not to eat."
Wow.
And he asked like half of the restaurant. So me and the person I was with were looking at each other like, and I told him, "You're joking, right?" He's like, "Tú me ves a mí con cara que estoy jugando," and I'm like, "Oh no!" I'm like, well, anyways, I don't know if I'll just have a mojito, and we didn't even eat there because I was afraid to eat because he said, I'm like, why would a person that's working here he's like, no comas esto, no? So the last time I was gonna eat there, and when I walk in, he's like, ¿Cómo estás? I'm like, oh, wrong restaurant. And I walked away. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, and I turned around and I didn't see anyone. I'm like, no wonder this place is empty. If that man is greeting everyone outside, it's not gonna work. Usually you see the girl with the bikini, or you see the girl with the tight dress, and you see this old man, he's like, no comas esto, no comas aquello. I'm like, no, your restaurant's gonna be empty.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
especially from something like an establishment, because that's you guys been around there for forever.
Definitely.
But who knew?
And you know what, he said not to eat the yuca there either, so I'm like, so
don't have the yuca.
And I thought he was trying to for me to order like the most expensive items, but he would even be like, y no ordenes eso porque eso está overpriced, te lo puedes ir a comer al otro restaurante. So I'm like, wow, I have never seen this in my life.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. He shouldn't be in PR.
So FYI. Yeah.
And then of course you would end it on the way back home from the beach with nuggets.
So what I would do is that right in the 2 blocks from there's a McDonald's in the corner. I would eat there, and then I would go back to get my car and drive to Prime 112 or Prime Italian, which are usually my favorite restaurants too.
I like to say on the record that among the many things that I like about Chris is that despite Le Cordon Bleu, despite the
Prime 112 and the
Prime 112, the boy loves his nuggets, and I love you for that because I love fast food.
With honey mustard, please.
Yes. I'm a sweet and sour boy.
The truth is, I do honey mustard and sweet and sour, and I dip one nugget into that, the next bite into. So I share each sauce, and then I'm
There's
done.
a method.
Yes. No, it is a method.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. That's why I must have, like, if I order 10, it's 10. If you want yours, order your 4, your 6. This is an argument every weekend. So that's why I'm looking at her. She's usually, and she's like, "Can I have one?" I'm like, "1."
Like, that reminds me of that. You watch Friends?
Yes.
No.
The whole thing with Joey.
Yes.
Nobody touches
Joey
Joey's
doesn't share
food.
sandwiches.
How funny!
Yeah.
We were mentioning this at 2 a.m. when we were having our nuggets. And she was saying, I'm like there with my nuggets, and she said something about Friends. Joey, don't touch my nuggets.
Yeah.
That's all I remember. So now it's making sense when you. I'm sorry, like 20 drinks later, finally I understand what you were saying. You know when you're just so concentrated and whoever's talking, you're like blah 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 blah, blah and you're like you're doing commentary on what you're doing, and blah 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 blah, and that's her, and you're like right, and you're like yeah, totally. Yeah,
You know I say that because there's a lot of people out there like, ugh, fast food. I don't put that in my body. I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
Go have a cheeseburger.
Oh yeah, I do that all the time. Yeah.
So good.
There's nothing wrong with it. I balance it. Yeah. If you look at what I eat, well, first of all, I don't follow a strict diet. But what I do is that I usually eat healthy throughout the whole day, and then at nighttime I'll usually be naughty and I'll eat like a croqueta or like that little box I told you with pastries and all that. Or I'll go to the beach and I'll eat pasta, which is carbs.
And to our listeners, when he was cooking for us and he did all sorts of stuff to us, we're going to post some
he didn't
pictures.
do stuff to us. He
For us.
Oh my God.
Thank you. I'm sure that's what people thought.
Thank you for that clarification. No,
Um,
the last thing I want people to think, because you said the intro, I was there with you guys downstairs for about 2 hours.
He brought this whole big tub of his like secret aioli, and let's just say that we were having that by the spoonful.
Yeah.
We were adding that on everything. You need to market that.
Yeah, you should. No joke.
Well, the truth is, I've shared the recipe many times. The thing is that I don't believe in secret recipes, because I feel that as a chef, you always have something new to do, and you always have something new to wow with. And not only that, but I'm not only a chef, but I'm an entertainer. So I want to show you how to cook this, so you can see what I feel when I'm feeding this to people, so you could try it and give it to other people and share it. And so that's what I look forward to. So when people say, "I know you won't give it to me because it's secret," I'm like, bring out your phone, start writing the recipe. So
I may take his offer on. Bueno, Chris, thank you so much. I mean, we could go on for like another hour, but our stomachs are full and it's late, and I know that you guys
had a long day.
It's been a long day, but thank you so much. Well, to both of you, because Areli, you've been amazing. So thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for cooking for us. That was so nice of you for taking the time out and doing this, and we can't thank you enough.
Yeah.
No, and
absolutely.
let me just put a little closing remark in there. I say that when you do anything, as long as you do it with love and passion and dedication, you can't go wrong with that recipe. And definitely with what you guys post and what you're doing in the community, and with your topics and your themes, and even putting logos on the shirts you're wearing right now, I see your podcast reaching millions of people if you continue that recipe. And I'm very excited. You two very humble people, very loving, very caring, and you can't go wrong with it. So I'm excited for that. Thank you so much for offering me this space.
Yes.
Thank you. Chris should write like greeting cards on the side, like Hallmark.
You should have your own like just brand extension, like motivational speaking cards. Just I feel like you could do everything.
No, because it's not every day that you run across like talented but genuinely like sweet, nice people. And
you're a real person.
You caught me on a Monday, which is my favorite day. So
wow,
that speaks volumes about you, sir.
So Chris, thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Welcome back, listeners.
Oh my God, I think I need to like unbutton my pants or like put in an elastic waistband after all that food.
Sometimes when I'm hungry, I just relive that night, and it kind of fills me up a little bit.
Yeah. And Chris, again, thank you so much. You were incredible, and not only thank you for the food, but thank you for being on that show.
You.
Yes, for being him. He's awesome.
He was so
now
nice.
after all this food, we need a little refreshment.
We have to wash it down with something.
Of course. So it's soda time.
Yes, it's time for the last soda of the desert. So you want to go first?
I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
And my soda, you know how sometimes I give gasless Cokes?
Oh, no. Is this another Earwax Beverly thing?
No, this is worse.
Worse than the Beverly?
But you know what? I'm giving my last soda of the desert because I want this to be a teaching moment. One of the things we say here is listen, laugh, and learn. So this is the learn. We've
already listened. We've laughed. Yeah.
Yes, because I really want our listeners to learn something and know something that maybe they didn't know. Have you ever heard of eugenics? Okay.
I don't know why I have, but I have.
Do you know what it is?
I do, but I'm cheating because I was at your house the other day when you were watching.
Oh, no. Oh, that's right. You were. Yes. Okay. So little did you know that my last Coke was going to that. So my last Coke is going to eugenics, but this is a gasless Coke because eugenics is a very bad thing. Eugenics is pretty much selective breeding, and it was a concept that was introduced into the United States in the late 1800s, early 1900s by Francis Galton. And there were a lot of scientists of that time who were also involved. So pretty much it was, as I said, selective breeding. Right. They thought that issues of society, whether it was crime, whether it was finances, hunger, pretty much all the perils of society could be fixed through selective breeding, because they thought that these people that were poor, these people that were uneducated, these people that were sick,
morons,
these people,
wasn't that the term that
yes, morons and idiots. Yeah. That was actually at one point a recognized scientific term, right, that all these people were the way they were as a result of their heredity and not their circumstances or the whole nature versus nurture thing. Right. So the Office of Eugenics was open in Oyster Bay, Long Island, and these people went around the country interviewing families. So they'll come to you and interview you and be like, okay, so tell me about your family. Well, my Uncle John was a drunk. Tell me about your Aunt Mary. Oh, my Aunt Mary was like a crazy woman. So they would make these...
I really hope they were married.
They would make these assessments based on these like completely unscientific data. It would just be on observations or somebody else's...
Anecdotal almost.
Yes, exactly. Okay. And then their whole shtick was that they would present this evidence to the government so the government can do a breeding program.
Oh, no.
In where certain people should not be allowed to breed and should be sterilized. And this actually got traction, and there were up to 70,000 people sterilized. Oh, yes.
Are you kidding?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And in North Carolina, they were sterilizing people until 1974.
74? That's
74.
Like 5 years before I was born.
74, they were sterilizing people. In fact, now...
On the basis of this.
Yes. And in North Carolina, there's currently a class action suit of people that were sterilized and now are seeking compensatory damages for being sterilized.
As they should.
There's this one case of this woman who was raped, and she was able to give birth to that baby, but when they did her C-section, they sterilized her because they said that she was promiscuous. Right? So then the whole thing was... She's not
Nelly Furtado. She got raped.
The whole thing was feeble-minded. So you know how we say when somebody's feeble-minded?
Yeah.
I didn't really know until recently that actually was a term that was used by the government. So if somebody was rendered to be feeble-minded, the government had the authority in many cases to sterilize the person, because they thought that if they sterilized these people, society's problems would be fixed. So at the end of the day, who was left standing? The white, educated, rich man. As always, the right educated rich man was the one who, or affluent people were the ones who, according to this science,
should keep going.
Should keep going. Yeah, should keep having children. Everybody else would not be subject to that because they should be sterilized because they contribute to offsprings that cause the problems of society. I think it's horrifying and fascinating that was happening in the United States, and the only reason why that fell why it became unpopular was because of World War II, because essentially Hitler was doing the same thing with the Jews.
Yeah, that.
So when World War II ended and the U.S. went to the concentration camps and saw all these videos, transmitted back to the U.S. of all these, tens of thousands of people that were slaughtered, that is when the tide started to turn for eugenics in the U.S. So I think that's something that people should really know about, because this happened not too long ago. Up to 1974, they were doing it. North Carolina was the last state to do it. Up to 1974. So people, look up, Google eugenics, and you're going to be horrified. And so I hope people learned a little bit. So my last gasless Coke goes to eugenics.
Well, the founder's dead now, so he has no use for soda. Good. Although wherever he is, he's probably very thirsty.
Terrible.
Well, so my last soda
please let it be
is going to somebody who is definitely not feeble-minded, who is definitely, based on our love for her, would not be a candidate for eugenics. So the other day I was at the gym and I was looking for another podcast to listen to, and I was just like scrolling through the browse, and I came across Oprah Winfrey's podcast for Super Soul Conversations. Mm-hmm. Now, I like Oprah as much as the next person. That's not who's getting my last soda.
Gail.
No. The person who's getting my last soda was she had a 2-part episode interviewing the iconic, legendary, incomparable Tina Turner.
Oh, I actually heard that. Yes.
Okay, we all know Tina Turner. She survived, a horrible childhood. She survived Ike Turner. She had her comeback like in her 40s, past a woman's prime. I did not know that just recently, after she had, retired officially, quote unquote, she had a stroke. Mm-hmm. She had to learn how to walk again. This is a woman who's known for her legs and for her strut. She had intestinal cancer. She had vertigo. She had to have dialysis because her kidneys were failing. She finally got married, though.
Yes.
And then her son commits suicide.
Yeah.
And the interview with Oprah was taking place literally the day before the service for her son.
Wow.
And she was speaking with a beauty and decorum. It made me want to become a Buddhist. Like, she was speaking so... It was weird because she was speaking eloquently, but it was not affected.
Right.
She still sounded like
herself.
Anime.
Because she did a similar interview this week with CBS, and I saw it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with her all over again.
We love her.
We love her. You and I saw her years ago when the Flying Tina.
The Flying Tina. What was it? What was the name of that album? The 24/7 tour. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. And then I saw her on her actual farewell tour afterwards again, and I would go see Tina Turner.
She is an icon.
She's iconic.
Yeah.
She's iconic. And that's a word that nowadays I think gets tossed around way too easily.
Yeah.
People are just like, so-and-so's been around for a year. Oh my gosh, she's an icon. I'm like, I don't think you understand what that word means.
Yeah.
She's...
You know what we need to do?
She has a new memoir.
Yes. Yeah. I actually want to read it.
My love story.
She has such an interesting... that woman went through hell and back.
And she still speaks. Like, she even said when she was diagnosed with the kidney failure, her reaction was, well... if I've lived almost 80 years and if this is my time, then, this is my time.
Right.
With just and it's not because she was giving up, it's just a piece.
Right. She's lived her life.
She has gone through so much that she has understood, for lack of a better
way, it hasn't always been nice and easy.
No, not always.
That's awesome. We could do all of Proud Mary.
Yeah, we can go on forever talking about Tina Turner.
So everybody... Eugenics and
Tina Turner.
Wow. Anyway, well, with that said, we hope everybody had a great time.
Yes.
And we hope
Happy Halloween.
We hope We hope you listened, laughed, and learned. And as always, grab your croqueta, your pastelito, and your jupiña.
And because it's after Halloween, maybe your fun-sized Kit Kat.
Yes. Or Mr. Goodbar.
Or Mr. Goodbar.
Uh-huh. And thank you for joining us, and have a great day.
Bye, kids.
Do I love in my own